Dude, that is gangster stuff. I've never had so much fun with a dirt bike in my whole life.
What's going on, boys and girls? My name's Steve. It's not. You can call me Steve. Finally, a video on YouTube that's going to show you how to put the KX65 parts properly on your KLX110. We're going to talk about setting up the front end, what springs, height between the triple clamps, talk about how we did the rear bracket for the brake, how we mounted the slave cylinder, how everything bolted up, how I did it. We'll talk about little quirks, little spacing issues that you might run into with the rear, what sprocket to use, what parts to use, how I did it. Doesn't mean you have to do it this way. There are companies that do bearing kits for them. I'm not going to give them a shout out. I emailed them. I sent them messages. They didn't reply. They don't ship to my region. That's fair enough. I'm in Australia. They're an American-based company. The fact I didn't even get a response from an email, I thought, you know what, I'll just do it myself. So we'll talk about today how I did it, what I used, sizes, how the bike rides, how it feels, how easy it is, how expensive it is, and is it worth it? I'm a little bit pressed for space. My garage is pretty full at the moment, so we just have to do it like this, unfortunately. All right, we'll start the front end. KX65. How I did it? I just went and bought myself a KX65. It was cheap enough, had a blown motor, had everything I needed, had the complete front end, had the rear end in it. This is not the bike. This is just my other daughter's little bike that we're teaching you how to ride the 65 with and teaching you a two-stroke and manual. But the big part is this. That's your KLX110 lower triple clamp. That is your KX65 stem. They are different. First off, the triple clamps on the KLX110 and they're a completely different size. They're a lot smaller. The shock for the KLX110 is in circumference a smaller shock. It won't go in. Some people will say that the KX65 front end is a direct fit. It is not. The KX60 with your drum brakes in the front, they will slot directly into your KLX110 triple clamps. The KX65 disc brake front end will not. So what you're going to have to do, and what I did, like I said, go and get yourself a 65. If you can find a parts bike, that's perfect. It will come with every single thing that you need. It's all there. But to start off, the biggest part is this. Now, these two parts here. Like I said, this lower triple clamp is for a KLX110. This stem right here is from my other KX65. I've got a 2011 model. Our little 110 is a 2017 model. All same. First thing you're going to have to do is grind it out. So if you can see that there, the way that we did it, we just did a nice, I guess, grind, a nice clean cut. We got it out as smooth as we could. And what you're left with is your stem out. So same thing. That's just how they were originally. Yes, this is two different parts from two different bikes, and we will talk about that in a minute. But that's your lower clamp, how to look in the 65. In this case with the KLX110 bottom end. So you need to get your stem out. Be careful, grind it gently, slowly, take your time. You don't want to stuff it up. If you stuff it up, then you just got to go find a whole nother lower triple clamp, start all over again. But what you need to do is get this from the KLX110, because it is bigger, it is fatter, and we'll get to that in a second, and put it into the KX65 lower triple clamp. So what we have here, let's put that down one sec. KX65 lower triple clamp. Inside there is the stem, that thing there, from the KX65. That's how it goes. That's how I've done it. There are bearing companies, again, that supply bearing kits. I think they come with a sleeve on the top. They're expensive. I'm in Australia. They wanted $90-something US plus shipping. That's ridiculous. The good part about doing this, and it is a little bit expensive initially, is KLX110 lower bearing, KLX110 upper bearing, because the stem is a KLX110, despite the fact that that's off a KX65. The stem itself, I can just go to a shop, I can buy a bearing kit to suit a KLX110. Cost me 35 bucks Australian dollars. It's fucking nothing, as cheap as chips. I can get them straight away. I'm not relying on a secondary company to send me overpriced bearings that they probably pay $4 from China for. It's just easier. So this is how I've chosen to do it. I did inquire about the the bearing kits and the sleeve and all this crap. And like I said, no one got back to me. So unfortunately, I had to do it the harder way, but in my opinion, the better way. All right, so when you've got that out, like I said, we put about a 45-degree angle on that. Now the bottom clamp, this is your KLX110 clamp. That one there is 27.6 millimeters big. So keep that in mind, because this is where it does get a little bit expensive and a bit of mucking around. The stem for the KX65 is smaller. Okay, so it's reversed. So imagine if this was your KX65 and this was a KLX110. What this is on a KLX110 is 28 millimeters. All right, so that's 20, what do we got on that one? We've got 27.6, 28 millimeters for the KLX110 stem. So when you've got your KX65 lower clamp, which again is 27.65 millimeters, you need to drill that out to 28 millimeters. This hole right here needs to come out to 28 millimeters. Seems easy enough. Trying to find a 28 millimeter drill bit for cast alloy, not that easy. And then when you do, you're going to fall over on how much you were going to pay on a drill bit that you're going to use one time. I did. It cost me almost $300 Australian. I ended up giving it to the fabrication shop that re-welded this for me, just in case. I will never ever use it ever again, nor will you probably, unless you want to drill another 28 millimeter hole. Then fantastic, you've got a drill bit there. That's how you got to do it. You get these two, you disconnect them from the KLX110, you disconnect it from the KX65, you get your KX65 lower triple clamp, you drill that out to a 28 millimeter. I left the bearing on mine, as you can see here, because obviously it's got to be re-welded and we want to find out where it's got to be re-welded. The best way, leave the bearing on there. Perfect. Stick it in the hole. If you're good with a welder, with alloy welding, I'm not, I don't know how to. I've got someone to do it for me. Weld the two together. That's the hardest part of the conversion. That gets everything out of the way. Once that is one piece again with the KX65 lower clamp, KLX110 stem, then that's it. Or your front end bolts in. And again, the beauty of using the factory parts and not an aftermarket bearing from some randos that are trying to make 4 times the amount of a bearing to survive in this world, you just go and get your KLX bearings and you are all done. And it's as simple as that. It's the hardest part. So again, the KX60 front end with your drum brakes will go into your KLX110 triple clamps. Your KX65 disc brake 2000 upwards will not go into your KX65 triple clamps, not even close. I wouldn't recommend honing them out. There's not much meat there to begin with. You can do it if you want, that's up to you. If your kids are only 20, 30 kilos, probably won't be an issue. If you're a grown-ass man like me and you're 90 kilos, yeah, I'm not taking the risk. Get those two parts, separate them, drill them out, grind them out, grind it out nice and good. Drill your lower clamp to a 28 millimeter, stick it back in there, flip it upside down, re-weld and reconnect the two together, and then you're all good to go on that part. Now the other part of that is when I did that for the first time, the bike rode like shit. And I'll tell you exactly why it rode like shit, because the KX65, these guys are a hell of a lot lighter than your KLX110s. You can feel that. If you've ever picked up the arse end of a KLX110 and picked up the arse end of a KX65, they're completely different. Picking up the front ends on the 65 are a hell of a lot lighter than your KLX110s. The KLX110 for a little kid's bike is quite a heavy bike. And you feel that when you're picking up a whole bunch of other dirt bikes and you're putting them on stands and you're mucking around and you're doing all that sort of stuff. At the end of the day, when you've got to pick this little guy up and move it around, it becomes quite heavy compared to the 65. So what I have done, first off, 20 weight oil in the front. I went from a 5 weight, 10 weight, 15 weight. And the issue that I was having with the front end is that when you turned a little bit, it was right on the compression. It was just sitting perfectly on the compression for the spring and the oil, and it would feel like the front end would wash away from me. Very uncomfortable feeling, almost like a vertigo feeling, like the front slipped, but it didn't. Now, trying to get information from my daughter's only 10 years old. She's only been riding for a little under a year. This is her bike. I built it for her. It's not for me. I'm a man. I ride full-size bikes. That's what I like to ride. Trying to get information from her was very difficult because the feedback that she was giving me is, Dad, the bike's fine. She didn't want to criticize anything I was doing. She didn't really know what I was doing. Didn't know how to explain if the bike was good or bad. She was just skeptical every single time she got on the bike that I had done something new to the bike, and she didn't know how I was going to react. But what I found when I was riding it, I'm 91 kilos, I'm 44 years old. Don't have much experience with dirt bikes. I'm a road bike guy. It's my background. I like old JDM 90s bikes. That's my baby there. It felt very weird. It was just perfect on a compression stroke. Now I chased this for a while. So factory, I think, is a 5 or a 10 weight. I put a 10 weight oil. I put a 15 weight oil. I went all the way up to a 20 weight, and that improved things. Once I hit a 20 weight, it felt a lot better, but it wasn't fixed. All right, this is after I've done all the arse end of the bike as well. So it's already got the D&M shock, it's got the BBR swing arm, it's got everything set up. And this is the things that people don't talk about, the fact that this KLX110 is a hell of a lot heavier than that bike. And the suspension is set up for that little lightweight bike to bounce around and shift around, not for a little boat anchor or a bike that is rock hard in the front. So keep this in mind. 20 weight is what I used. After speaking with these guys, shout out to Shock Treatment in Sydney, pretty awesome guys. Put me onto the Race Techs. They had one in stock. I was very lucky. This is a 30 kg spring and solved everything. There is the part number for you. You don't have to search. You don't have to look around. FRSP 274330 in a 30 weight spring. This is one up from factory. This is not by any means a super heavy spring, a super hardcore spring. It is simply one up from what the factory is to cope with the extra weight or a grown-ass man attempting to ride one of these little bad boys here, which they're fun. That's the only bike that's ever put me on my ass, by the way. But that's what you need. KX65, complete front end. KX65 ripple lower triple clamp. Pull the stem from the KLX110, put it in the KX65 lower triple clamp. Use your KLX110 lower bearing. Use your KLX110 upper bearing. Use a 20 weight oil. Race Tech 30 kilo springs. That's them there. Now it comes with 2 tubes inside, and you've got to cut the tubes down. The tubes are basically how you would set up the back of the bike with your sag and whatnot. So what you want to do there, I've got a set of verniers in my hand. I don't know if I'm going to use them. I just point it out. When you put this top cap on, this top cap needs to sit with a 5mm gap. That will give you what I've been told by the Shock Treatment guys, the perfect little setup to start playing with. So you want this top cap elevated 5mm above when it's completely screwed down. It's a little bit difficult because obviously it screws into place. So you're trying to measure something as it's screwing in, but it's pretty easy. The tube they give you is equal length. So when you cut the tube directly in the middle, so measure up the black tube they give you, cut it directly in the middle, and it should pretty much give you a perfect 5mm gap between this silver part and, in my case, the green part. Yours may not be green. This is off a 2017 KX65, which I just pulled them out of that because we have a theme going on with this one. So 5mm gap between there and this top. You want a 15mm gap between your triple clamp and the base of that fork tube. That'll give you the perfect setup, and it'll balance it perfectly with the arse end with a 290 D&M rear shock. That will sort out the whole entire front end. And that's it. That's all you've got with the front end. Again, I'm going to say it. Late model KX65 front end with the disc brakes, KX65 lower triple clamp, or clamp, depending on what part of the world you come from, KLX110 stem, cut and shut and re-welded onto your KX65 lower, 20 weight oil, Race Tech 30 kg springs, 5mm gap between your top cap and your fork tube. Cut the tube directly in the middle that they give you to set up your sag and your front end. This is if you're a heavier rider. This is set up for my daughter. She's 35 odd kilos. I've got them so they sit top flush on the top because I still want to have a bit of travel in the front because she's not that heavy. But if you're a bigger guy, 5mm protrusion from the top screw it down, 20 weight, and that's all there is to that. It does help if you've got a hole in an old tyre bike, because trying to chase these parts here in Australia was a little bit difficult and quite expensive. Kawasaki's are a funny one. They tend to stay on the road. They tend to keep being used. They're a little bit hard to find the parts for. I rang Kawasaki directly and said, hey, what do you want for one fork leg? And they quoted me $700 for a fork leg. I paid a little bit too much. I paid $2,000 for a KX65. Again, not this one, just a donor bike. Did I use all that much off it? No, I ended up rebuilding basically everything anyway. I rebuilt the calipers, rebuilt the master, rebuilt the brake caliper, the rear caliper. I did everything, brand new hoses. Didn't need to go to that, but if you can get yourself a little KX65 that is complete, it's going to make this whole entire process a hell of a lot easier for you, a lot more enjoyable, because then you don't have to try and find all these. You got wheel spaces in there and they're different between left and they're right, and you got your rubber boot caps. You got all this sort of shit to worry about. Your hose clamp onto the forks, your clamp up here, your master cylinder, your brake lever, all that sort of stuff. If you can just find a complete bike, do yourself a favor, jump on it, and then whatever you don't use, always try and sell off. It's the cheapest and easiest way to do it. So that's the front. That's the front pretty much covered. We'll move on to the back of the bike and we'll go from there. The back part of the bike, fairly easy again. Again, there are companies that make conversions for these. Didn't even bother, did it myself. It was simple enough. It was easy enough. I didn't overthink it, just basically mounted it. So all I did was put two super long bolts through the front of the slave cylinder, put nuts on the back of it, just so they sat flush. Not on there now, but I just sat flush up against that on the slave cylinder. Basically had everything there. This is a KLX110 pedal, KX65 rear slave cylinder. Nothing fancy about it. Can buy these anywhere, cheap enough, like 80 bucks Australian, not expensive. Put the two long bolts through, put the nuts on the rear of it, set it up against where I wanted it. Simple. I put a little bit of paint on the tips of the two bolts that went through, two marking holes. Easy. I drilled two holes. I put two nut certs in. As simple as that. Threaded it through. It is threaded on the slave cylinder. Threaded it through, got it perfect. Put a little nut on the inside, tighten up the nut. That's it. That's rear slave cylinder mounted. No fancy billet shit going on here. No fancy kit. Nothing that's $100. Nothing that's $200. Nothing that's $300. Drilled two holes, two nut certs, put two nuts on two bolts, cranked them up, stays there. I put all my weight on this. Again, 91 kilos. A fat old bastard. Goes straight in, no problem. Works. Brake hose up between the frame. See that there? Nice and easy. Rotated it, but it stuck it straight through the little gap, ran it down the frame, onto the swing arm, two cable ties. I would like to get a couple of proper little mounts, get some little fancy, really expensive eBay cheap shit ones for $2. Drill a couple of holes, put some screws, mount it properly. Easy. Caliper. This is where you got to put in a little bit of work for it. It doesn't go straight on. This is a BBR rear swing arm, obviously. Could possibly work for a factory rear arm. I don't see why it wouldn't. Again, there's companies that make these brackets. What for? It's billet, it's nice, it's shiny. I get it. You can see, I put the money into the bike. Does the job, there's no need. Would it look a little pretty and nice? Yeah, if they did a purple anodized one, I would probably be fucking all over it. Same with the little mount up here. I would probably be there if it was priced half decent and if it was in my country and if these people actually replied to emails. But what I've done, this is your caliper bracket here. I'm going to throw up a picture on the screen real quickly what it looks like off the bike, because you do need to take a little bit off it. So that's how I did it. I just ground the right hand side to your right there. I ground that flush. There's a bit of a spacer on there, a little bit of a high point. I'm guessing works as a bit of a shaper, a spacer to shift the wheel over. I just ground that flat. So that whole entire bracket is just sitting flush against the swing arm the whole way through. I used the grinder, didn't overthink it, got it as flat as I could, slide straight on. Now the BBR swing arm has got a preference for the caliper mount. to slide into. Not bothered. Again, the angle of the hose kind of makes that a little bit of an issue, and that does adjust. So as you slide your wheel forward, that tilts the whole caliper up. Slide the wheel back, the whole caliper will drop down. It does affect your hose positioning on that. I'm again not too fussed on how it's sitting. It's on there. Again, it's my daughter's bike. The brake works well. She's not doing 120 kilometers an hour on a freeway doing silly stuff. She barely uses the back brake. Does it work for me? Of course it does. Fat old bastard, press the pedal, doesn't move. You're cranking the wheel up anyway. So I wouldn't overthink it. If you want to just do it the way I did it, you can. What I might eventually do is cut a bit of a V out of the bottom of the bracket and just make the whole bracket come down just a little bit. But the problem I've got with that again is the angle of the hose. There is quite a bit of tension on that hose already. I don't want to go pushing it too far down and sort of mucking around with it that way. I'm kind of happy with how it sits. I've got it on, what, 3.5 from the rear slots on the back. Works well. I haven't had any problems with it. It hasn't played up. It hasn't done anything. Now the other side, because your chain is going to be offset, if you're lucky like I am and just had a set of R33 GDR Brembos lying around, these are the washers for the bolts. 2.5 mil each. Fits perfect. So 5 mil in total for the other side. Obviously this is in reference to getting your chain straight. I'm almost knocking over the 65. I've got two of them. This is a bit of a tricky angle. Two of them sitting right there. Perfect. Factory KX65 wheel, straight on. All the brackets on there on the caliper. The caliper's actually straight from this angle. 2.5 mil spacers, 5 mil in total. If that's in focus. Sitting on the left-hand side of the bike. That's your back wheel done. Now this is one thing that no one's going to talk about. BBR swing arm, you've got your chain guide down the bottom here, chain stay, whatever you want to call it. You need, well, you can't use the KX65 sprocket. The KX65 rear sprocket is massive. It's huge. It's double the size in circumference on the back wheel. This is from Vortec, from eBay. 39 tooth Vortec, 100 and something bucks from the States shipped. Took a little while, but it got here, I think maybe a week, a little over a week, and I think about a week and a half to get here. But that's what you will need. That puts you in a perfect spot between your chain guide. It fits. You can still move the wheel back and forward. No issues, no clearance issues whatsoever. You can't use the KX65 one. That's wrong. I did without the chain guide. Man, it picked up speed quick. Didn't have much top end. It didn't really want to do anything after that. Picked up really well. Doesn't work. After a bit of research, these are the only people. Your factory sprocket is a 38 tooth. These are a 39 tooth. So you've gone up one tooth. I didn't bother doing anything with the front ones. I didn't need to. That's a 13 tooth. I think some people go to a 15 tooth. Again, we're not chasing numbers. This is just a bit of a project bike, something for me to play with, something pretty cool for my little girl to ride around on. Be a little bit different from everyone else. In saying that, you can't use a nut and bolt. You're going to need an Allen key head, and you're going to need to try and find the smallest ones you possibly can. Because I don't know if we're going to be able to see it when I rotate the wheel. The two Allen key bolts for the chain stay. We can't see that. Maybe if I zoom in a little bit. Right there. That's really shit. They just barely clear each other. See if I can get a bit of picture on that. I don't know if you can see that, but there's two. You've got your upper one, and there we go. Look at that. That is a fly stick, but it's perfect. It works. If your wheel's off-centered a little bit, you hear it go dip, 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 dip. Awesome way to know if your wheel's straight. But that's the rear end. So again, 2.5 mil spacers on your left-hand side, so your near side if you're in Australia. Your offside, refer to the photo that I put on there before. Grind that section on this side here, completely flush to the rear subframe. You're all set. That's basically it. D&M shock is what I use. Shitty, good, up to you. Cheap, amazing. 290mm shock. That's what I got in there. Got a couple of spares because I go from 270 to 290. Instead of just trying to find spring rates, I just buy the shocks because they're cheap enough. This is the MKAR 290 mil. This is a 350 LBS. That means shit to me because we use kgs here in Australia. I got a 200 for my little girl. 20 weight in the front, that's still zoomed in. 20 weight oil in the front with the 30 kg one-up springs for the 65 with a D&M MKAR rear shock in a 290 mil. Spot on. Can't fault it. Jump straight, land straight. They are adjustable. They call it fast and slow. It's just a rebound. It'll spring up. It'll spring slow. Depending on what you want to do, set it up for you. Originally, we ran it with a 270 and we set up like a big bike. So the arse end of the bike was lower, the front was up. That's when I was chasing the issues with the feeling of the front end. You could get away with it. I don't see why not. But to get it sort of factory how the KLXs are, which is the bum of the bike is up, it's sort of propped. It's got like a positive rake, like an old school Toronto or something like that. The front's a lot lower than the rear. You kind of see it on the stand right here now. That's kind of the angle you're going for. Obviously, Kawasaki know more than me and you, know a lot more on how to set up bikes than I do, than I guess most of us. So I try to keep it kind of how they had it set up originally. I had it set up identical to a 65, thinking I'll just recreate the 65 scenario and set it up how the 65 set up. It didn't really work all that well. It steers and handles and feels a lot more responsive in the bike overall, with the bum of the bike up and the front down, which is why I've got a 15 mil gap between the triple clamp and the top hat of the fork tube. And it seems to work well. Tires, commonly asked question. There you go, that's your front size, a 90 by 90 by 14. These are miters. This is a fatter tire than your factory tire. Got the matching one for the rear. They are Pit Cross Terraforce. Whoa. 90 by 90, 14. Rear tire, same brand, same style, another miters one. 90 by 100 by 12. KX65 factory size in the Dunlops. 80 by 100 by 12. Upsize tire, 90 by 100 by 12. Front ones, where are we? We've got a 60 by 100 by 14. Front size again is 90 by 90 by 14. That's it. That's all I can really tell you. That's how you do it. Not a big mystery. This is probably what I think is going to be the most in-depth video on how to do this. I couldn't find it. I spent a long time chasing videos. There's a lot of information and a lot of people writing stuff on the internet, but no one physically showing you how to do it, the best way to do it. Well, I guess the best way I found to do it anyway from learning myself. I'm not a mechanic. I don't build stuff, I don't fabricate, I don't weld, I don't do any of that sort of shit. I'm just a guy that likes fucking with fast stuff. I build my cars, that's what I do. Bikes, I don't do. This all started for me from watching one video of someone in the US saying that the KX65 front end goes straight into a KLX110. No, it fucking does not go directly in. Drum brake KX60 will go directly into your KLX110 triple clamps. Not a late model disc brake 2000 onwards KX65. So that's it. I'll give you one more quick run through. What I did, buy yourself a KX65. Buy one of these. If you pull one apart like I did, you're a dickhead because they're a lot better bike, and if you want your kids to progress better and learn how to ride properly, that's perfect. If you're a grown-ass man and you want to thrash around on a small little bike because they're fun, or you actually care about your kids' safety like I do and want to ease them into riding because they're fresh, and you want to do this, get your 65, get your KLX 110, get your lower triple clamp. Again, from your KLX, take your stem out of your KLX 110. This here, leave the bearing on top. Get your KLX 65, sorry, your KLX 110 stem, put it in your lower KX65 triple clamp, leave the bearing on there, re-grease them, take your front end off your bike, bolt that bad boy straight in. All of this up here is the same. The KX65 does sit a little bit higher just here. Also sits a little bit higher on the bolt, which is why you can see the stem's kind of countersunk in there. That's tight, that's not going anywhere. That's just how it sits. Everything else off here, KLX110, 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 KX65. These are off the KX65 as well, but they're the same as the KLX110s. I just use them because they were black on the bike that I've got. KX65, KLX110 stem, KX65 front shocks with a 20 weight oil. Your Race Tech springs, go back if you need the part number off that. 15mm gap in the front with your fork height, 5mm protrusion of the top cap to your front tube. That's your front end done. All your brakes obviously belong to the KX65. They're going straight on. You don't have to do anything. Want to get fancy like I did, go spend the money. Awesome, I think it's worth it. It's a cool little bike. Back of the bike. 2 bolts. Put a nut on the back of there. That'll give you a straight bolt because there's a thread on there. 2 markings, drill 2 holes, put 2 nutserts in there, screw your bolt through, put a nut on there, tighten up the nuts. That's done. Route your brake hose up through the frame, down through the frame, along brake caliper. Like I said, you can cut a V into it if you want to make it sit flush. No, this mount will not fit the BBR swing arm. They want you to go buy the billet conversion for it. Fuck that, don't worry about it. Just stick this on there. Grind it flat. Your caliper bracket on this side. Again, in there. On this part right here, just grind your caliper bracket completely flat. You'll see when you look at it what I'm talking about. And then you get your 2 washers, which I don't know where I've just put. Get a 5mm spacer. There they are. Like I said, if you're lucky enough to have a set of Brembos off a 33 GTI, you're halfway home. 2.5mm each. 5mm spacer on that side. That will make your train be nice and straight and true, and that's what we want. Allen key bolts for your sprocket. Vortec rear sprocket, 39 tooth. 1 tooth up from your 38 on your KLX will give you clearance, and that's it. That's it, people. Nice and easy. That will give you something a little bit different. Again, it cops my weight. It takes my weight at 90 kilos. My daughter's, I reckon, no more than 40 kilos. Perfect. The way it's set up now, can't fault it. 290 rear shock in the back from D&M. What, 130 bucks I think I paid for that. There's some random little Chinese importer guy that gets them on eBay for 195 bucks, and there are other companies that sell them for 190, 200, 210. 130 bucks. I managed to find one on Facebook, went and picked it up. It can't be fake because it's Chinese. They are already fake. That's just the nature of the game. But it works. For the price, you can go buy a Fox floater. You can do whatever you want. If you want to keep it budget friendly, do it at home by yourself. That's just how I did it. Up to you. So that's it. Hopefully this is a video that will help a lot of people. I couldn't find any videos other than one guy telling me that it bolts straight in. Another guy's done a conversion and a reconversion to both bikes. I think he got a double swap for his kids, so he put the KLX onto a 65, which I was going to do at one stage. That's why I still got that there. And then hopefully this one will give you everything you need to be able to do it yourself. Legends, have a good one.